this is Idom, and today's lesson will be about Java control statements. In this video, I will cover decision statements, iteration statements, and jump statements. The first topic is about if and switch statements, but before explaining them, let's take a look at what decision statements are. Decision statements allow you to make a decision based upon the result of a condition. There are many types of them, such as if statements and switch statements. Now that you know the basic idea of decision statements, let's take a look at if statements. There are two types of if statements. Basic if statements, where it only has one if statement, and if-else statements, where it has multiple if statements. Unlike if-else statements, basic if statements do not have an else statement. They are used to decide whether a certain statement will be executed or not. Let's go over an example. In the code, I is equal to 10, and it is only allowed to enter the if statement if it is less than 15. After that, the code will print out outside of the if block. And when the code runs, it gives less than 15 and outside of the if block. Now that you know what a basic if statement is, let's go over the if-else statement. An if-else block has an else statement after the if statement. The else block gets executed if the condition in the if statement is false or not true. It sounds a bit confusing with words, so let's look at an example. In this example, it is very similar to our previous one. The I is equal to 10, and it will enter the if statement that is true. In this case, I, or 10, is less than 15, meaning that it will go inside the first if statement, which will print less than 15. And here is the output, less than 15. If the I had the value of 16, then it will not go in the first if statement and instead print greater than 15. The next topic is about switch statements. Switch statements are used to execute different code based on the value of an expression. In simple words, switch statements execute one statement from multiple conditions. They are very convenient to use, but there are some rules to keep in mind. First, duplicating case values are not allowed. Second, the value for a case must be of the same data type as a variable in the switch. And third, the value for a case cannot be a variable. To make things more clear, let's look at an example. Let's say that I got a B as my English grade and I want a code to give me a certain result that matches my grade. In the code, I'll have my grade equal to B. This is a char variable, by the way, so it will not work the same as an integer. I will use a switch statement and have it connected to my grade so that the statement knows what it's supposed to look at. Inside the switch statement, there are two different cases and one default. The case is similar to an if statement. If a variable is equal to something, it will give out a certain result. In this code, it says that if my grade is equal to an A, it will print congrats, your grade is an A. But since my grade is not an A, it will belong to case B, which will print out congrats, your grade is a B. And as for default, it will only print when a variable does not fit in with any cases. The next thing we're going to learn is iteration statements. An iteration statement is used to repeat a particular block of code. There are four types: the while loop, the do while loop, the for loop, and the for each loop. Let's look at the while loop first. A while loop repeats a block of code as long as a condition is true. When using a while loop, always update your variable, for example, I++, or I equals I plus 1, which adds 1 to the variable I. Down below is an example where num equals 0. The while loop in the code says when num is less than 3, it can pass through. So the while loop will stop after num is greater than 3, and the result should show num equals 0, 1, and 2. The next iteration type is the do while loop. It is also a loop that repeats a block of code as long as a condition is true. The only thing that is different is that the while loop is at the end. As shown below, num equals 1. The num will go inside the do loop first and do the print statement. Then it will update the num. It will continue to do this until num is greater than 3, which will print num equals 1 and 2. The second to last iteration type is the for loop. The for loop iterates over a range of values and provides a concise way of writing the loop structure. When using a for loop, it is important to write where the variable starts, ends, and to write an update, like I++. Otherwise, the for loop won't work. Down below is an example of a working for loop. It shows where the variable, which is I, starts and ends. It also updates the variable in the end. The I starts at 0 and needs to stop when it becomes greater than 3. As a result, we get I equals 0, 1, and 2. Our last iteration type is the for each loop. The for each loop is used to iterate through an array, which was mentioned in the last lesson. It also starts with the keyword for like a normal for loop. In this example, we've got odd num, which represents all the odd numbers into an array. The for loop has a new variable called num, and it will collect all the numbers from odd num. By doing so, it will then print out all the odd numbers, which is 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. The last topic we're going to learn is jump statements. Jump statements transfer control to a different part of a code. There are two jump statements that are provided in the Java programming language: the break and the continue statement. The break statement can be used to terminate any loop. It can also be used within the switch statement. In the example below, you can see that the for loop starts at 0 and will end when I becomes greater than 5. Inside the for loop, there is an if statement, which says if I equals to 3, the code will stop by using the break statement. After that, the code will print the values of I, which are 0, 1, and 2. The continue statement skips the current iteration of a loop and continues the loop for the next iteration. To make things more clear, let's look at the example provided below. The for loop starts at 0 and will end when I becomes greater than 5. We can see that in the if statement that when I equals 3, there is a continue statement. This means that when I equals 3, the I will not exit the for loop and will keep on iterating, which will skip the number 3. So instead, it will print out I equals 0, 1, 2, and 4. And that was all about decision statements, iteration statements, and jump statements. Hope this video was helpful.